I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, the world's most influential basketball podcast. It is Monday, September 1st. Fall is not here, but it's kind of here. It's kind of in the air. Andrew Quo, you're kind of in the air.
I'm always kind of in the air. Loving it. Flying high. Soaring above you people who are not flying high.
You were buoyant. You were floating.
Yeah, I'm always buoyant and floating, but I got to admit, not so much today. As the fall approaches, so does my heart. I'm in the winter of my soul because my guy, Donald Trump, died on Wednesday.
In a situation reminiscent to that of Danny Ainge, it appears the President of the United States has vanished from view, perhaps buried in a shallow grave somewhere, much like the general manager of the Utah Jazz.
That's right.
A sad day.
He was seen with a bruise on his hand, a mysterious bruise on his hand, and then a bandage covering it up. It could be a lot of blood transfusion, alien skin coming to the surface, a lot of gooning, perhaps. But could it be the cause of his death? A lot of things were knocking on that door. I just want to take the time to celebrate our president and all the things our leader has done.
I thought you were talking about Danny Ainge prior to that.
I was talking about Danny Ainge, the president of basketball operations.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was like, the mysterious alien diseases.
Ainge.
Lauri Markkanen.
He has a green hand.
He has a tiny green hand.
That's right.
Lauri Markkanen, mysteriously untraded. It would seem as if a living GM would have figured out a way to move the Finnish superstar who's tearing up the Euro ball games this summer. But alas, a dead man pulls no trades.
Walker Kessler still in the high altitude. We thought for sure he was going to be in Lakers gold and purple, but I think Ainge is too busy managing his alien skin.
So the rumors about Trump, as you alluded to, were that he had odd discolorations, and then, much like his predecessor and his successor, Joe Biden, vanished from view. Now, Biden was a little more shrewd than Trump. He existed after his death in the form of a hologram. And
like will.i.am
broadcast, or Apex Shakur. He would exist from the basement of a compound in digital format. And thus far, Trump has not really done that. We haven't gotten a Trumpogram.
They tricked you. He's been a hologram the whole time, buddy. Yo, he has not witnessed the Brunson Knicks as a flesh being.
I'm sorry. Are we talking about Trump or Danny Ainge here again? I'm confused.
It is confusing, right? Like, just take your pick of alien life form.
So it was Jordan Clarkson that signed with the Knicks post-Trump or post-Ainge. It's all so complicated.
Is Karl Anthony Towns rebounding from the future? Does he exist? Did he come back as a poor defender, or from the future, or was he already bad at switching?
It's all very plausible either way. But all this stuff about dead presidents becomes very plausible because they're old as the hills.
Them
When you
Dar
have
Hills.
them Bar Hills, when you have
Shout out to
leaders
Tyrone Hill.
who are in their late 70s or 80 years old, there's always the chance that they have been murdered or died of natural
Murdered by
causes.
time.
Brutally murdered by the inevitable passage of time, cut down past their prime, and then stuffed and taxidermied, and then continue to run the country, for several years as a stuffed Trump or a Biden doll.
When I was a young Asian lad, I was like, these old heads, these boomers ruining our country with these old policies, these out of touch ideas about a more perfect union. Now that I'm turning into an old head, someone who remembers Jeremy Lin on the Knicks, I'm like, maybe these old heads have a point. Maybe leadership is only accomplished through experience. Maybe when I'm 86, I'm in my prime, baby.
I think you will be. And as the life-affirming episode of Cookies described the life-affirming experience of going to see the Sun Ra Orchestra with a 101-year-old band leader on
Those
the
young
last Perfect Pod,
whippersnappers. Yeah.
you've got years and years, a half century left to wear the same clothing that you were wearing here today.
That Sun Ra band inspired group standing on the corner of eternity. Tough place to be, but that's where I am.
So, with Trump's death, what does that leave here?
Man, JD Vance running roughshod. I mean, this is like his fourth. Maybe he'll change his name again when he becomes president. Okay, my question to you is, in the inevitability that Vance becomes a nominee or just president today, is he smart enough and convincing enough to take over the MAGA agenda? Or has he been propped up to a position where he kind of does not embody the proper motivations of the Trump base?
It's tough because MAGA only allows for one true star. We've seen the rise and fall of Trump minions, and none of them have had Trump momentum without him.
Like Elon Musk or something.
Well, I mean, he's a good example, but like DeSantis, there's been other people in his periphery that were then, I guess, embraced, like the Memphis Bleaks of Rockefeller, under the MAGA domain, but none of them have had the ability to like seize the mantle, though, right?
But he's a invasive fish in a tank, right? The problem with him is, in terms of game theory, he doesn't cooperate. So he just like eats all the fish. JD Vance, in theory, if he understands how to accrue power from his position, would be to create allies. Trump's not interested in that.
No, and Trump also, unlike Jay-Z, for example, who seemed to try to elevate rappers around him, the little homies, to try to get them to be stars themselves, whether or not that's like how it worked out with Kanye. Forget the whole actual idea, just as a metaphor for running a label. Trump has no urgency at all to create his successors. He doesn't turn anyone into a potential threat. This is like a one-man band.
He's the guy, and not even his sons and not even his daughter. I thought it was going to be his daughter, his probably most beloved person in his life. I thought she was going to get groomed to be his successor, but she has disappeared. Maybe she wants to hit those mean streets of downtown where the and one guys, like, they don't know you.
Well, what's interesting about Trump is that he is so unconcerned with having a successor that Pence was sort of foisted upon him, and then he more or less tried to get him killed at the end of his first term. And this time, J.D. Vance was also seemingly foisted on him by his sons, who liked him because of his sort of his deal and his tech world associations and his right-wing credos as an intellectual, or whatever those things may be. Those were not things that Trump liked.
Trump liked the way he looked. Trump was like, he looks like a tall, handsome man that I want to stand next to. I don't think Trump cares about all the smack that J.D. Vance has spoken of him. I don't think he's read Hillbilly Eulogy. But listen, Ben, I started reading. You said read a book. And I said, How about hillbilly eulogy? Elegy.
Finally. Wait, Hillbilly Eulogy, the Danny Ainge story?
I'm just on the F train, opening up, cracking that spine, being like, this is a eulogy for Danny Ainge.
The death of a hillbilly.
These performative Utah Jazz intellectuals.
I don't. Do we really think that Trump was impressed by J.D. Vance's stature?
I
And
think
that's why he picked him?
I think Trump operates on a visceral level of casting. I think he
I
picks,
hear you, but getting that from J.D. Vance is a little strange.
well, I mean, he thinks Kash Patel fits that role. He thinks Marco Rubio fits that role. I think Tulsi. We're not talking like downtown good looks or even magazine good looks. We're talking just like semi healthy people who don't look like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, or maybe I don't know. But I think Trump famously mocks the appearance of one or two of his sons all the time because they don't look like they're cast worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess J.D. Vance does look more like a normal human being than most politicians. And that this reminds me a bit of that article in New York Magazine that came out after the election, and it documented a night with the new alt right,
That's right.
and it was about they're good looking and they're handsome and they're pretty, and then you see the photos and it's like, well, sort of. I mean, as far as that goes, in comparison to 80-year-old politicians, yeah, that's true. Like, but I guess we're talking about a lowered ceiling here.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone in the White House is getting on Rhea immediately. I think they get booted to the 10-year waiting list. But so do I. So we're in good company. I am JD Vance. But I think Trump is swayed easily by things like death, bruises on his hand. I think he's easily nudged into his existence. He's against windmills because of a dispute he had in his golf course in Ireland, I believe. And now he has otherwise normal people claiming that whales fly into the propellers of these windmills. Like, it is a hilarious, scary, interesting time to be alive.
I also think Trump gravitates towards a dislike of his underlings. Like, he needs to have a scorn for them in some ways.
He needs a Caitlin Clark. He's Angel Reese, and he's like, I need a Caitlin Clark.
Exactly. He looks at JD Vance and he's like, this fucking dork, this guy.
Contempt is his name, right? It is his game, and I think there's a valid point there. Motivation is an elusive feeling, an idea, and I think Trump is very, very dumb. But I think he's smart in the way that he keeps it simple and he knows what motivates him: hatred and contempt.
I gotta say, this time around, I'm not sure if it's the media coverage or my diet of media or his availability. I never see him talk anymore.
Oh, I see him talk all the time. It's out there. He's like, "Hey, where's the cameras? Let me tell you about something."
Have you noticed a cognitive decline, or is it the same dumb shit as before?
Same dumb shit. I like. Okay, back to the death thing. This is like,
Because remember, he almost kept dying. He was he had COVID and was staggering around. This is not his first rodeo with the Trump is dead.
build the team assuming Giannis is going to be healthy, and you will have to see him in the playoffs. You have to prepare for the actuality. If Giannis is not healthy, great. You've prepared for the most difficult task. Constantly hoping and wishing for his death is fine. Whatever floats your boat, whatever motivates you to wake up in the morning. But like, it is a losing proposition. Assume he's going to be alive for 20 years.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. because even Joe Biden, the sickliest man on the planet, was able to live out his term.
Yeah.
That man was a hologram. We haven't seen him since. As far as we know, Joe Biden's been dead since 2022.
Obi Toppin's like 70 years old, but he's still windmill jamming in the playoffs, even on the biggest stage. But it reminds me of like those doomsayers, those cultists who are like, the world will end on January 1st, 2019. And when it doesn't, they're just like, our God moved it. Now it's 2027. Our bad, but we got a message. And you keep on moving the goalposts kind of figuratively, and you can live a whole life that way. It's aspiration, right? It's like, Ben, when this is done, I'm going to read Hillbilly Elegy for the third time.
Well, it's also, yeah, it is the, I guess, the neoliberal version of like Q, where it's like, Trump's about to die, the national nightmare is over, Q is about to come back, and he's about to stop the adrenochrome harvesting from beneath the pizza place. He didn't come back. I guess we get the adrenochrome harvesting beneath the pizza place for a couple more years. Unless...
Yeah, I mean, everyone's waiting for Q to make an appearance, but he still has not signed with the Sixers. So, like, waiting for Quentin Grimes to pull that trigger, but maybe we push it off for another week, another month. It's like the goalposts. When is a Quentin Grimes goalpost gonna finally net us that field goal?
No, the Giannis one is the best comparison. He's gonna leave at any day, and the Bucks franchise is gonna collapse, and it's just gonna be Doc Rivers running the show over there, and Giannis is gonna come to the Knicks, or he's gonna come to the Lakers, and he's gonna form a new dynasty, a new presidency that we'll all respect.
Yeah.
No. Giannis's brother just re-signed with the Bucks. He's going nowhere.
He hasn't said. He likes to mess with the media in like the most mind-numbing ways, but same with Trump, right? And I am hopeful that the Democratic Party can find a message, sort of like Mandami, and hammer it and be clear and defend it with vigor. I think that is the way to take back some sanity in our government, whatever that may be. But I do feel also that Democrats are using their energy in the wrong places, like wishing for Trump's death, or like reveling at an interview with a gotcha interview that kind of feels not as productive as it may seem.
I guess you're talking about the episode of the Adam Friedland show with Richie Torres on it, went viral. Shout out to Adam, friend of the pod. Now that he's interviewing politicians, it's unclear if we'll be able to get him to stop by and lionize Nick Van Exel, as was initially planned, but hopefully that will still occur. So his interview went very viral because it was one of the first examples we've had of someone more or less having a politician captive. And there have been examples where politicians have been on a stage and they've been booed and they've walked off, or people have yelled at them. There have not been many examples where a politician has been kind of held to task. Is that the word I'm looking for? Well, a politician has basically been confronted by a host and said, this is how I feel, this is what's going on in the world, and what's your response to that? And I think the fact that Adam voiced an opinion on the genocide that is held by the overwhelming majority of Democrats, but also the overwhelming majority of Americans, and it's an opinion that our government, both parties of which, are actively seeking to avoid, I think that resonated with people.
Yeah, I do. When I say skepticism and when I present this idea as maybe misdirection, I meant like that show and those clips were very much preaching to the converted. I do believe those opinions voiced by Adam are not hot. I think it is a consensus a little bit. I've seen a lot of interviews with politicians. Politicians are held to task quite a bit, I think, especially on TV. if you care to watch TV, which I don't really much anymore, but they're on there being attacked. And Torres was actually patient in game. So respect to him taking that offensive from Adam. It's tricky, right? I was thinking about AI a little bit and being like, in terms of the response to those clips, just being like, oh, this shook me to my core. This is resonating with my soul, right? Like watching Adam being human versus someone who feels inhuman. And I was thinking about AI in those terms. I'm like, the reason why I think AI will fail, I still think, is it doesn't understand cynicism, sarcasm, but it surely doesn't understand humor because it moves too fast. Get an AI bot to figure out how to talk to hot dog legs, Jordan Rodelli. It's like it moves too fast, right? It like, I think in terms of game theory, you will do this next. And Jordo's like, I know you think that, but you know what? My legs are made of hot dogs. And when I look at those clips of Adam's interview, I am buoyed by the sentiment of it, but I am reluctant to embrace it too much because it feels a little like banana taped to a wall, like a little bit of low hanging fruit.
Well, I think you did hit the right element in that he is preaching to the choir, but the choir has been largely ignored by both political parties, by the media, by institutions. And I think that is definitely part of this. He voiced something through the prism of being a Jewish man, but he voiced the overall opinion that is like overwhelmingly popular amongst Democrats and just Americans. There was like a Quinnipiac poll from a couple of days ago, and it's like 80% of Democrats think there's a genocide and want it to stop. It's just an overwhelming amount. So you are right from like a mathematical standpoint. He isn't voicing an edgy position that changed how people think or is inflaming people's ideas. He voiced something that everyone generally agrees with, but in a way that we haven't seen a lot of, because him as like a host doing that in front of a politician who is, backed by the Israel lobby is not something you see on TV that much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think it was I think it was the rarity of the spectacle, but also with the mass agreement of the people who saw it.
I'm less interested in the majority in polling of this idea because I do feel like it's not that nuanced, but people can register, check a box based off of how the question is proposed to them. And like where I do agree is like the leaders we have in our country are not saying it simply and clear enough. Like our people, AOC, Bernie, whoever, Mandami, it's garbled because money is powerful and they don't want to lose money, because if they don't get the money, they can't do that small good thing that we want them to do. Mandami cannot really say it in clear terms because he's running for office, right? Perhaps when he wins the office, he can say it in clearer terms and lose re-election.
Can say what?
His feelings, Adam, in the voice of Adam, his feelings about what's happening in Gaza, right?
I mean, Zoran's been very clear about his feelings. He didn't voice it necessarily in the emotive way that Adam did, which was like deeply personal, but also, I mean, Zoran's been clear as day about his opinions on this. He has not obscured it at all, even in a way of like an AOC has, who AOC is blurry on this. Like she's got greater political ambitions, but also knows her place within
with Bernie,
the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Well, Bernie's a weird one because
he'll just vote.
I mean,
with Democrats.
AOC and Bernie are just kind of like yeah, we're sort of controlled opposition, sure.
I mean, you might
get health care out of it though. Like we might get you some health care, but end of the day, you know who we work for.
when the stakes get so high like that in terms of your existential being, like as a politician, I think it gets confusing. Uh, Even Joe Rogan is kind of garbled because a lot of things are at stake with him, and he is critical in surprising ways and not critical in many unsurprising ways as the ex-host of the Man Show. But um, I do think that there's a lot going on. I mean, we're not going to talk about like shooting in Minneapolis. That was crazy this week. Like, there's a lot going on in Americans' minds, and the economy definitely is one. Um, I do sense uh, an exhaustion with the Gaza thing because that's the way our brains are wired now. We're not. I want to be a dog, but it's hard to have outrage for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree on that. Like, I don't think there's like we've reached any point of exhaustion on it, other than the barrage of violence that we see every day. That has not. I mean, every indication is that people are still very upset about this. It's going to define the Democratic Party. It is a huge part. I mean, I'm just saying, to see the outcry. Well, actually, I'll be honest. I don't know what you mean exactly when you say fatigue. Like, do you mean fatigue towards what our government is doing? Because that's what the outcry is, and the attention for Adam's interview with Richie Torres, it's specifically about that topic. So I don't know what you mean by fatigue, because there's no indication that I've seen whatsoever that people are like, okay, we'll let the Democratic Party skate on that. It's the opposite from my perspective.
The fatigue being like, these shouting liberals are so annoying. We do.
Yeah, no,
this.
I don't see that at all. Like,
I see a ton of it, right? But like, I hang out with people who say that, so like, it's a whole different thing. But like, everyone agrees.
But I mean,
but
just to be clear, so I mean, I don't really even quite get it. You're like, people are sick of hearing people complain about Gaza, and they're like, hey, I'd rather this genocide happen.
Or no, this has nothing to do with Gaza itself, and that's the beef, right? Like, it is an affectation, being like, check those boxes, sort of like Michael Stipe back in the day was like, save the trees, like, go vegetarian. Everyone's like, yes, save the trees, go vegetarian. This is the subculture. I'm a part of it. It means a lot, actually. The environment means a lot. Save the whales, right? Which still is important, but we've lost our fervor for it. But this kind of, we talk about performative people on trains. It's like, it's hard to believe in real things and talk about them and not have someone immediately being like, you're just doing a thing, you're a neoliberal or whatever. It's just like, no, I really believe in this thing. It's just like, nah, you're just Adam Friedland, you're a comedian. And it's like, but I'm trying to speak to you as a human. And Richie Torres, that hot mic thing was interesting, right? After the show, where Richie Torres was like, I'm not the Gaza guy. Why did we talk about Gaza the whole time? And Adam was like, I didn't mean to upset you. And he's just like,
but also he is the Gaza guy. Like, that's his claim to fame.
Oh, but he was just like, I'm just Richie Torres. And that vibe being like, I'm not even the guy here. And Adam Friedland was like, I'm not trying to make you mad, but this is what was on my mind. And that was, I thought, pretty interesting. It humanized both people, but and it was helpful, I believe. But it's tough. I always bring up China, Africa, a lot of stuff I don't quite understand. And I know it's not fun to talk about, and it's not about oil or money. It's about politics that are really confusing. But like, I always say,
the reason I'm resistant to the like whataboutism of, like, when people say everyone's upset about Gaza, but what about like Sudan? What about other places in the world where things are bad or happening? I'm like,
involved in all of that.
Well, but also a huge part of that talking point is just the claim that the focus on Gaza and Israel is anti-Semitism. Like, that's a huge part of that whataboutism play, is that the New York Times is, no, but that's behind that point. It really is.
Not if you're smart.
Like, that's behind the.
Right. I mean,
I'm not saying everyone who takes that stance is cognizant of that being a component of this, but it very much is. Like the New York Times wrote a long thing about it, and they're like, there's no doubt that Israel is doing this, but the criticism is steeped in anti-Semitism. The criticism is disproportionate. And that is a huge part of that talking point. That's like, why are you so obsessed with Israel? What about China? What about Sudan? What about this? And it's like, the implication there is that people being upset about Israel is partially anti-Semitism. And that's just part of it. Whether or not everyone who uses that phraseology or that whataboutism knows that or understands that, it is a huge part of it.
and the whole Sudan thing is like the whataboutism is like, you guys just don't like people who aren't white. Like you don't care if people of color fight each other. One person has to be white here for it to kind of work.
It didn't really matter who Richie Torres was. You know, Richie Torres, as to your point, so like, well, I'm not the Gaza guy. It's like, yeah, but you are enough of a Gaza guy. You take $1 zillion from Israel and you tweet about Israel and you're from the South Bronx. You are a hypocrite. You are part of the problem. But he's just one of many, many, many people who could have been in that chair.
Absolutely. And, if we got Nico Harrison to be on Cookies, it would take me a few questions to be like, what's up with Miriam? And he'd be like, what am I doing here? I'm like, sorry, I have to ask you about Miriam. The fuck is up with Miriam? And he'd be like, she's my boss and she's okay. I'm like, that's it? You don't have more thoughts? He's like, no, I don't have more thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, and when you talk to AOC, when people talk to AOC about it, she's like, here are some words I've prepared in a human way. I hope they're acceptable. Thank you.
I mean, the other thing is, like, if you asked Richie Torres emotional questions, he wouldn't answer them anyway.
I'm saying, right? Like, also being an entertainer, politicians are entertainers and they're trying to win you over. Like, there's a skill level there and there's a spectrum of skill. How much do you give? How much do you inform? And how much do you just toe the line? And this is a famous political thing, just like toe the party line. If you're going to go on that show, don't say anything that would complicate your situation and our situation. Just get through the show. And that's what like late night TV is all about until there's a slip up and you're like, damn, they slipped up. Trump's dead.
So you sent me this article earlier. You've read it. I only read the synopsis of it. But the idea is that the new dream guy is beefy, placid, and politically ambiguous. Are you saying the new dream guy is Richie Torres?
No, he's not ripped enough. He's not political goth health enough. So the article I sent you, I believe it was New York Times Magazine, and this kind of coincides with a Bon Appetit article about how the misbehavior, drug taking, famous nightlife Anthony Bourdain of the food industry has turned into working out in the morning, mindfulness, efficiency. You got Taylor Swift, the artistic voice of a generation or two, marrying the popular jock, the captain of the football team. So like the New York Times Magazine article is suggesting like, are we in another meathead era, or is this the dawn of a new kind of meathead evolved from the opponents of Revenge of the Nerds in that movie? Are we seeing a new form?
Yeah, not to drag it back into politics, which I'm not doing. I'm just saying.
Go for it.
Well, no, I mean, after the last election, you could look at it and say, whatever your perspective was, you could be like, well, there wasn't enough of this, there wasn't enough of that, right? It's like, the America is moving rightward, or people be like, they're not appealing to the people because the country has moved left. Like, whatever your perspective is, you could say, you know what, she lost because she wasn't mean enough to trans. It's like, well, that probably wasn't it. Like, no, dude, totally that she should have been meaner to trans. But this is one of those things where it's like, well, Taylor Swift, who is this hugely, hugely popular,
the hugest
superstar, the biggest, generation defining.
Couldn't swing an election, but the biggest.
But she's the biggest. Yeah. And she's marrying an imbecile. he seems like a nice guy.
He's a nice
successful.
guy. Yeah.
But like, look at his old tweets. This guy he's a simple man. He just loves the pigskin in his lady. He's a big brolic oaf.
I kind of like him a lot, you know, like whatever.
And it's like, yeah, but we're like 5 months removed from Timothy Chalamet sitting front row wearing Evisu and everyone's saying, this is the new man. He is ironic.
Yeah.
He's wearing 2002 rap gear very knowingly, sitting front row with his similarly Hollywood starlet, mega famous billionaire girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, how 4 months change everything.
Outliers, right? Like, and she dated Travis Scott before that. She herself is an outlier.
And Blake Griffin and Ben Simmons.
Yeah, and like, don't care about Morgan Wallen. I have forgiven myself for knowing and keeping in touch with Americana, right? Shout out to Sydney Sweeney's Americana movie kind of bombed after that jeans ad. But this is a wonderful idea, because I think for a long time we had the NPR era of Malcolm Gladwell, Bill Simmons, this nerdification of politics, Nate Silver, politics in terms of social politics. And that ran parallel to technology. And we had more tools and we had more ways of sussing out how we felt and how we would behave. So everything kind of became, the goal was predication, predicting the outcome so we can understand how we thought. How we think is, Taylor Swift is done with these weird subcultural heroes like John Mayer. People who are in bands like the 1979, like really edgy bands, right? And then she goes with the Kansas City Chiefs tight end, Travis Kelce, who is a part of America in one sense, but not in another sense. I think he's more progressive than the jocks we saw in the 80s. But I think this is wonderful because in a way that Caitlin Clark needs Angel Reese, and Angel Reese needs Caitlin Clark, and they both thrive off of that. Nerds need hate.
Also, we can't pretend we don't know how the sausage gets made, how the glizzies are formed on these kind of stories.
Oh, White Hots?
It's like, you know, you get three trends and you're like, it's the meathead era.
Yeah.
It's back.
Yep.
You know, like 3 months later, you're like, no. It's the retro nerd who wears a Visu and goes to Knicks games is the new perfect male. It's about skinny, elven features being very feminine.
And it's like two writers identifying outliers, right? And my favorite is, are we ready for another bootcut jeans article? It's like everyone's wearing bootcut jeans. I'm like, I'm old, because people who are 21, people who do all the right fashion things, weren't alive in terms of the gaze of social media. They were like 15 when that article came out. It's just like, bootcut jeans are back.
When I was writing Nightlife's reviews for the Times, they were pretty short and they were generally compartmentalized. And it would be like, what's the crowd like? What's the music like? What are the drinks like? What's the venue like? And they use different tactics today than they did back then. So we would go usually relatively soon after it opened, but we wouldn't write it up for a few months because there was this idea that after a few months, a new venue would sort of settle into its true self. That if you went early on, it was still friends and family, it was still the new hot spot, that you didn't want to write about a place and say, oh, it's full of like A-list people. It's so cool. It's so fun. The lines are around the block. And then in 2 months, it fizzles out because that was just an artificial opening week crowd or whatever. Now it's the opposite, right? It was like, oh, this place opened. Get there first. Mm-hmm. We want to be top of the SEO, above the Infatuation and New York Magazine or whatever.
Reddit, front page of the internet, right?
It was like, get there
above
first. Opening night, Write it up. Doesn't matter what it's going to be like down the line. who cares? And it might be right. Who does care? I don't know. Like, I'm not even saying one is the proper approach or different, or incorrect. I'm just saying it was different. But in that time, so I'd go to a place, I'd check it out. All right, let's give it a little time. Go back there. And if I was like, this place is getting whack, I would always say bootcut jeans. I would just drop that bootcut jeans reference in there. Because I didn't want to necessarily shit on a place if it wasn't for me. Because a Russian karaoke bar in Midtown might be really fun if you are into Russian karaoke Midtown bars. If that's what you're looking for, I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of someone who might find this appealing. Yeah. If it's a brunch club with a bunch of billionaire Mexicans, you should know that. But I'm not going to say, this is ass. I don't know. You might be a Mexican billionaire with a bunch of pesos burning a hole in your pantalones looking for a spot to spend it.
Yeah. I saw a post that I loved on Instagram, I believe. Someone had, that brand is called Vineyard Vines with a whale.
Vineyard Vines.
Is that what it is? Someone had a shirt with the logo on the breast, and then a jacket with the same location logo, and it's like, does this fit go hard? And someone's like, no, it does not go hard. That is not a hard fit. Guys, we have to like create a boundary here. That is not a hard fit, right? And I loved it so much because, I'm obsessed with this idea of like Amy Leon Dore being the new suit, but it's undetectable. It's stealth. And I don't care about stealth wealth. This is just like stealth conservatism, perhaps. So when someone pulls up in like an ALD sweatshirt and like a New York or Nowhere hat, it's like, does this go hard? I'm like, it does not go hard. Like, we have to save the things that go hard for the things that go hard. And that is about world building and trust building. And what you're talking, this is why Adam Friedland works. Because he's built a world of trust with us, because he's been on Cumtown. He's done these interviews. He is a master at his craft, to be honest. And we know this because we've seen him do it. He's not coming from nowhere. He's not a psyop, right? This is very much him. When someone pulls up in a cookies tea, you tip your cap, because we've been making them for 10 years.
Like, that goes hard.
That goes hard. Those worlds and trusts have been built. But the bootcut jeans thing, the club situation, the articles you're talking about being like, is this the new era of health in restaurants? Being like, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I have not built that trust with you. So when you tell me just because Taylor Swift marries Travis Kelce, I don't think it's the jock era yet.
So, yeah, there's that story that was about the dating app Raya. I think it was maybe Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's the concept that you had dating apps, you had nightclubs, and Raya was, in the words of the founder, created because he couldn't get into hotspots. So he was like, I want to create an exclusive place that I can control because I'm getting denied from the door. But this concept of exclusivity, that's my understanding of
podcast fame. Yes.
Of his origin mythology.
Right.
And then you kind of talk about like nightlife and just the conversation we were having and like the cues of where a place is. And I think that still does exist to your point, right? Mm-hmm. You walk into a party, like, okay, I see the ALD sweatshirt. I see the Kith leggings. I see someone's wearing, this specific dad hat.
On cloud shoes.
You've got that on. It's like, it's this kind of spot. And then you go to a dive bar. It's like, you're wearing this kind of vintage tee. You're wearing like this shredded, Descendants t-shirt or something like that.
Wow,
like, okay.
You calling that Descendants? I don't see that. I was psyched to see that.
No, there's nothing wrong with seeing it. I'm saying you know where you're at in that way.
It's
And I think
yeah,
but the
an
meathead
oasis.
one is weird
Yeah.
because the meathead one is kind of indistinguishable from all this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
It's like the meathead who's politically ambiguous, but also what is the word they used? Like docile or something? Placid. It's like, but couldn't that be like a big metal dude? Couldn't that be a big brolic guy in ALD? Couldn't that be like? There's not enough indicators here.
There's never enough indicators, right? Like, did Lana Del Rey marry a meathead or a subcultural king? Like, I can't tell what this guy's all about, but that was a surprise.
Travis Kelsey wears Kalina Strata pants. That's avant-garde men's fashion. Most men don't do that, except that. Does that make him less of a meathead, or is it irrelevant?
I was at a beach yesterday. You know how I feel about beaches, and I was waiting for my French fries, and I saw a young person in a tattered Sepultura shirt, and I was like, there was a point where that probably cost hundreds of dollars. I don't know what the market is now for that, and it would be amazing if that person was like, I'm kind of a fan. I went to see them. I love it. I don't know if they're still active, but it is this blurring where I just don't even think about it anymore. I'm just like, that's a cool looking tee. Respect. I have zero juice for judgment. Talk about fatigue. I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. I like that tee. That's cool. I like to be around this t-shirt. The image is nice. I don't care that you don't know the songs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of does the meathead cross categories?
Yes.
Is it just that they're? I think it does, right?
Yeah.
That the idea is that they're just kind of big and kind.
Yeah. Right, which is different than the meatheads in New York City hardcore, right? Like agnostic front dudes were like insufferable. Like, holy shit, you guys are the meatheads, you know?
And it's not really being a frat dude either, because that there's a like you wouldn't be excluded from that Venn diagram, but it's not the financial bro either though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine, I will never forget this, told me as they were dating in their early 20s, she was just like, I cannot find the right person. I attract all these dudes who are just like drinkers and they spend money as their identity. I want a nerd. And I'm like, hold on. As a self identifying nerd, I have to find out what that means. It's like, someone who'll go to a festival, like the Pitchfork Festival, someone who's into Modest Mouse. I'm like, okay, we have a different definition of nerd because I find nerds to be kind of insufferable, like myself, who are just really into stuff that no one really wants to hear about.
I mean, I feel like all these things seem to run counter to each other, but maybe they're all linked. The popularity of the U.S. Open here in New York City seems to really be rising. We were talking with one of our mutual friends the other day, and he was saying he went over to the U.S. Open out in Queens, and that it was intolerably crowded. It's like it almost made you not want to go. There were so many people there, and you go on social media, inundated with images of what's that called? The honey deuce.
The Honey Deuce. Have you had
the
one?
cocktail? No, it's got a couple of melon balls and some liqueur in there. I heard it's not good. That's
It's
what I've
fine.
been told.
It's good. I've been to the U.S. Open a couple times. Those are fine. But
I've
you're
heard it
talking
be
about,
smirched.
well, I want to lead you into the wizard staff of melon honey deuce cups because it went viral, right? Like a couple bros spent $500 making a wizard staff that was very tall. And of course, I'm referencing the back in the day wizard staff where people would drink beers and tape them on top of each other, and you were done when you were made a staff taller than yourself. That was the indicator. Um, I like the U.S. Open. It, what you're talking about cuts two ways, right? The the people who are trying to gatekeep it, being like, who let these jerks in? Or the people who are like, this is a wonderful event.
Well, tennis is a weird one in a way that I feel like we've always been pretty proletariat when it comes to basketball. We like when the city is flooded with people wearing basketball gear and going to watch games. I've never felt possessive about basketball in that way. Here come all these fly-by-night basketball fans. They're not real heads. They weren't with me watching Stevie franchise. Woo. Oh, you're here for SGA and Jokic? What do you know about Baron Davis? I've never felt that kind of possessiveness. But maybe there was an elitism to tennis.
You think? Go on.
Well, I'm saying outside of the elitism of tennis, right? Like the complete elitism of tennis, like that it's impossibly hard to find a court and it's super expensive. Outside of all that stuff,
I wish to play tennis. How much money do you have?
I'm saying even as a fan, maybe it just seeps into the groundwater of the sport.
Why is it quiet? Why is golf quiet? Why shouldn't these sports be loud, cheering, trying to unnerve a free throw shooter? I grew up thinking that the three true sports were skateboarding, basketball, and soccer, because they were easily obtained. A skateboard at the time cost maybe $50 to $100, so that's different. But a basketball in New York, that's relatively cheap, if not free, if you have a ball. Soccer, same thing. Tennis, golf, football, baseball, the resources involved in that, the social resources involved in that felt different than shooting hoops lonely like an incel late at night. But I've had a couple of my friends live in New York City with me for decades, enjoying these three big sports. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, I've been going to Flushing and playing on those grass courts, man. You should check it out. It's like, oh, there's a secret court in Grand Central. It's beautiful. You got to sign up and all that. It's like, I'm going to the U.S. Open. I'm going to catch the early rounds because that's the action, but I'm also going to see Alcatraz when he advances. And I'm like, oh, you guys are rich. I did not notice this. We're all rich emotionally. We're doing okay, everybody. But you guys are really rich. Like, pardon me. I had no idea. I still love you. But I don't understand this language. I don't know how to navigate this world. And this is where we may separate. I'll see you when you come around again. Because however times I've been to the U.S. Open, I don't quite understand tennis.
There is an economic barrier to playing tennis in New York unless you're just very diligent about adjusting your schedule around the peak times when people want to play.
Yeah.
And, as someone who does not play very much and has not played in years, there was a time when I would hit the ball around a little bit, but this is a long time ago. I can't play tennis.
I played tennis for when I was a teen. I tried it.
And even at any point that I've known about it in New York City, a place like, say, McCarran Park, which has, 4 tennis courts, it's extremely competitive.
You can't go. You got to sign up. You have to have a sign-up time.
Exactly. There's squabbles about all this stuff, and same deal with the courts in Tribeca. The courts, I guess maybe along the water in Dumbo. Maybe they have some.
Malcolm X Boulevard. The people go into Bedside to play on those new courts.
Exactly. So it's always been difficult, and if you want to just pay to play, you can. You can go to New York Tennis Club and pay whatever it is, $150 an hour or something like that.
And I have FOMO because I feel like even in small industries that we're interested in, not big money trading, relationships are being built on tennis courts, golf courses, all this stuff. And I am not there at all. Relationships are not being built shooting hoops in Seward Park, and
I don't know. I think it can be done. Basketball can absolutely be that kind of social lubricant, if you wanted to call it such a thing.
Wonderful
that
people.
Golf was for different generations. It may not have the same magnitude of wealth, but I've seen this happen, and I've been a part of that, and leagues I've been in where you meet people that you later work with, in creative fields, totally doable in the basketball ecosystem. It's not necessarily billionaires, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I love our life. I am happy and blessed to be living where I live and making relationships, creating business transactions that involve like cool stuff that we do. I love making these things. We're not talking about the same money, man. We're talking about like, how did you become a millionaire? It's like, well, I got this little tip. I had the money. I'm like, I don't understand any of this. What money? What tip?
Well, fortunately, the valuation of the cookies media empire has crested because of the newfound popularity of the meathead. As two of the leading meatheads in the sports world, we're now rich, Andrew. We are now wealthy men.
I feel like it. I live it. I am wealth. I'm going to get that little Wayne tattoo on my face. I am money.
So, in other NBA media news, your boy, Ryan Russillo, has departed from the Ringer. This is a hand reaching out from the other tiny green hand. Yet another appendage of the BMM has sprung to life.
A link in the chain.
Out of a pot of gold beneath a rainbow.
Got to be completely honest, all due respect to Bill Simmons and truly one of the godfathers of this content world. I have heard Russillo talk. I have maybe listened to some podcasts. I do not know. Some J. Cole stuff. What is he about? I had to Google why people were hating. He's a Trump supporter. I wasn't quite aware of his politics, but makes sense. He's a sports guy. I assume all sports guys to be interested in that political spectrum. I don't know what his takes were, so I tried to do a crash course. He's pretty smart. He talks about sports in a thoughtful way. Him going to Barstool, which is a complicated thing. I love the pizza reviews. Really hate the vibe of that sometimes. That company. But also, something is happening there. And I'm not sure if it's easily reducible to the idea of a meathead or a simple way to look at sports. But perhaps there's a market and thirst for this way to talk about entertainment.
Hard to know, though, also, because Ryan Russillo is a knowledgeable analyst. I only know his basketball stuff. He is good. Yeah. He's good. I mean, to me, it's not even a question. He's good.
Yeah.
He may not be electric in terms of being wildly funny.
Yeah.
But he's good. He's good. He's good. He's like, here's what I think is happening. He has good analysis. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think he falls into the category of like the play nerds, but he veers towards that stuff too.
Yeah, I mean,
he is a good synthesis of the Bill Simmons like sort of idea of like, you know, irrational confidence guys. He can do some of that stuff, but then he's in there like, oh, they're running this pick and roll. I don't think they do. Like he's good. Mm-hmm. I would not say I am incredibly well versed in his catalog, but whenever I have seen him, I've left thinking that this guy is good at what he does. And
right.
So I would say the part about this is with Barstool is that yes, they're all from New England. Yes, their politics may adhere more than say with like the Ringer's audience, and arguably so. But also, it doesn't necessarily qualify as Barstool's ascendance. It could also be Barstool's like kowtowing to the existing media structure in almost the same way the Ringer did when it brought Russillo on.
Right. I mean, you remind me of a thought I hate to have, which is like Fox Sports blew it because they should have just hammered gross stuff. Just being like, you know what, that player sucks? Because they're pro-gender stuff or whatever hot topic there is, let's attach it to a game. and they could have really captured an audience that is waiting for that. And them just emulating ESPN was kind of struck fear, I think, into that direction. And Barstool should do that. Barstool, I think, partnered with Fox and has some money, and they're looking to build a sports world with Russillo, which is interesting. Is there like Skip Bayless, for however ugly he's willing to get, does not veer into politics, right? Like he won't say it out loud, but he doesn't say things like, "You know who's bad? Brown people." I'm like, the minute someone's willing to do that in the sports sphere, I'm like, sadly, you're looking at chaos that could make them very wealthy.
Right. I mean, this is definitely true, and that's where the idea of the meathead renaissance becomes a little strange. It's like, is this a wink thing? And I think that's why they add like the placid, and he's apolitical. It's like, oh, well, he's not actually a meathead Republican. Like they're trying to qualify a specific kind of meathead because meathead has a connotation as being a violent conservative guy. It's basically a guy kicking your face in wearing, large boots.
But this is the disguise I always want to think about. Is it a new meathead who's like, I'm wearing this little whale logo. This is cool, right? It's cute. It's not a tie. It's not a suit. It's not a Confederate flag.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes. Also,
Right.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it like these outdated ideas of what pariah figures, according to sort of the intellectual cognoscenti view. The meathead, ugh, gross. It's like, well, have you been following what the meathead is up to? They don't necessarily dress like the meathead in your dreams. The meathead from your high school is not the same one today. They're out there wearing a wife beater and with a bunch of tattoos and long denim shorts and hanging out, looking like other people of their generation. They aren't Revenge of the Nerds guys with Greek letters on their chests.
And this is the same to say the nerd has changed too. It's being like, oh, I like country music. I am well versed in Morgan Wallen, or I love Taylor Swift. What's wrong with a pop star, right? This is the popism, flattening, the super flat thing. But the super flat thing also applies to the quote unquote person who probably was a conservative, protecting money and protecting the type of greed in the 80s, socially and monetarily.
Swinging this back a little bit to the sports media conversation, I really don't know what to think about Russillo going to Barstool because, The Athletic went and got Shams. They went and got
Pablo
David
Torre.
Aldrich. It's like, this is the same thing Bleacher Report did. It's like, okay, we're going to hire Howard Beck away from the New York Times, and he's going to be our main basketball name that we have. These are all talented people we're talking about. We have Howard Beck now.
Kevin O'Connor,
Bleacher
right?
Report.
Yeah.
Bleacher Report must be taken seriously. Yahoo, they've been doing the same thing, right? It's like, you want to be taken seriously, you hire a big name,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it is validating in a sense. Like, sure, you have this big name now, and that's probably even more powerful now when people have major social media followings, except that when everyone understands this sort of mercenary way of doing business, the platform kind of falls away. It's like, if you like Russillo, okay, he's on Barstool now, which means he won't be with Bill Simmons. You're like, well, that's kind of a net loss.
Right.
If you're a Russillo guy. But maybe the upside is, well, now he's with some of the Barstool guys who I like, and that's fun.
Yeah, I think of Ethan Strauss, who has contrarian takes, that is well loved in the scene. He went under paywall, right? He does Substack to a lot of success. Like you do the quick math on that, and you're like, damn, he's doing really, really well. Um, but I miss, I miss obviously Grantland, but I miss The Ringer. I miss Network. I miss Shea Serrano. I miss like the people who kind of I felt like were designed to speak to me a little bit. My type of fan. And I think everybody tries to find the right fit, but the everything should change every year and evolve to the center of its world. And I think the trust building resides in what Rosillo's trying to pitch, what Portnoy's trying to pitch.
When we worked on that story about the appeal of and one nostalgia, early 2000s, and there was a part in there where we discussed how this smart essay by a guy on his Substack floated around the embers of the Free Darko world. And, I heard about it from a guy who used to write for Darko, and then Pablo heard about it and was like, hey, what's up with this guy? What do you know about him? And it did make me wistful. And you know how I feel about Wist.
Don't get all Adam feeling on me, man.
But it made me wistful for the halcyon days of basketball nerd writing. That was a cool era when you had Free Darko and the Ringer. Grantland was absolutely positioned with like an eye on Free Darko, while being both a rivalry and dismissive of Free Darko. Clearly was like influenced by it and used a lot of the same people eventually.
I mean, you're downplaying it a bit. I believe even shout out to Nathaniel. Nathaniel sparred with Bill Simmons on social media in kind of an organic way at the time. And the the Grantland army kind of went a little hard on Free Darko.
Yeah, I don't remember all the details of this, but this did occur, and I knew there was beef, schism. I don't know the extent of how personal it was. I do feel like Nathaniel said that Bill Simmons had blocked him, and that was like
he talked about it on Twitter when he was on there. He was just like, "That was really tough, dudes." Like the mechanisms of social media were kind of unknown. It was like, but he found out. I mean, this was before the popularity of the Swifties or the K-pop army, but that was it.
But to even to that point, right? Mm-hmm. They were both trafficking in sports intellectualism, but specifically basketball, because that is
it's the best.
Bill Simmons' heart, and that is what was at the root of
LeBron James was
Grantland.
Helpful. Yeah.
Oh, I just mean as a platform. Sure, they were talking about all different sports, and they would talk about movies and Hollywood, and there was all these other ideas, but basketball was sort of the core identity. When you think about the people who were writing for Grantland, it was Bill, and it was Network, and it was people like Rembert and Chris Ryan and Zach Lowe. It was a lot of people who loved basketball. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then also Free Darko was doing amazing work. And there's all sorts of alumni from that who went into working and a lot of times writing about basketball elsewhere. Yeah, much harder to find that these days.
Yeah, because I agree. And I have wished for that as well. And it's hard to be sustainable and do things that take quite a bit of energy and like pay your bills, right? Sometimes it comes down to mechanics. I always tell the people around me, my objective is to make just enough money to be able to like dream a little bit during the day, just like daydream and think of stuff that isn't about paying bills. And that is a luxury with a capital L. I think every generation has its challenges, but technology has done a number on us, and I don't think AI is gonna win this war, but it has taken its toll, I think, on writers, on people with ideas, and where if you had just a B plus level of takeitude, you could survive. Now you gotta be like an A plus dude because the market share is like so slim.
There's that, but it's also, and this is a larger media shift than just basketball and, elitist intellectual basketball fetishism being a tiny kernel in this ear of corn. But basically, you're looking at a shift away from the written word overall,
For sure.
right? Like how there are places that still have good writing, but it's just an overall industry shift within media towards video, towards content that can be viewable on your phone. And I think there's still money to be made in writing. Sadly, that has been siphoned off by, Google and Facebook and Amazon and different platforms that have seen writing as a way to get advertising money versus it being, say, for a website or let alone a actual hard copy of a Deadwood publication. But I just think the mourning the loss of like the basketball intelligentsia as a writing component probably just mirrors, you could say, the art world or
The movie world.
almost anything else.
Almost anything else, journalism, everything. And The Ringer did not become this behemoth of the biggest tiny green hand because of writing, right? Like they embraced smartly multimedia channels, talking heads. I mean, we're doing reels
Pods.
now. Yeah.
Pods, yeah.
Cookies is doing reels now, to the chagrin of our followers on IG. We're enjoying it. But like, that's not me. That's a hologram, by the way. None of those takes I stand behind. It's the interns had made a pretty accurate hologram of me. So I don't know what's being said on that reels tab, but
Yeah.
I don't cosign.
No, you just type out the take, it's generated, and then the Quobot goes out there and does this damn thing.
Yeah. The Quobotics technology is out of this world.
But I have a question, though. Is it possible that you can have a resurgence of like smart basketball as a written word? Or are we just, as a society, is the written word just cooked?
I don't know. I've been thinking in reverse a lot. Like, I don't know if it's because of my age or because of this topic that you're positing, but like, I'm listening to old records, wearing old clothes, trying to find how I got here in order to teach myself like a computer. And I've been reading poetry and trying to read the B word, the B bomb book. So, and I do think it doesn't work anymore. I like it because it's nostalgia. It's useful to me because I enjoy writing. But in the way poetry kind of died, the way jazz died, people still listen to jazz records. People still write and read poetry. Don't get me wrong. The way jazz was a great American invention and kind of lives within a bubble. Crazy to think, but like writing is forming a bubble.
This is some really high sounding shit, but if you were going to come up with a theory, which some people have and I do not subscribe to, that humans have had rise and fall and declines before over the millions of years that humankind has existed on Earth, you might say that shifting away from the written word to technology is a way to erase your history, right? Like if your society collapses and you have manuscripts and written word, they might exist. They might live on as hieroglyphics or something like that. This is me just talking. You're throwing stuff on hard drives in the cloud, your society collapses. Well, all the knowledge is gone.
One would say the opposite. I know what you mean, but like, you have bad actors here, like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, wishing for this outcome because that's where the money lies, power. Greed is good. But I also think, shout out to the Internet Archive that has all the Dat Piff stuff now, thankfully. The cloud, in theory, is a better archivist than a library because the library can burn down. The library is physical. Paper rots. Physical stuff has a vulnerability that digital technology doesn't. And of course, hard drives can get broken. But what are you talking about, mute guy?
I'm thinking about over the passage of millennia, where society collapses and then there's nothing left to tend to the cloud. It just, all those servers are gone. It just, again, I do not believe in this theory.
So paper books will be there.
Well, maybe stuff written on cave walls, last longer than.
Well, there were manuscripts in the Renaissance that were just like copied over and over. Like, what do you do for a living? It's like, I've been copying the 7th edition of that scroll for my 20 years.
But you know those theories I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, well, we can't explain the pyramids, so therefore we had another more advanced society than our own that was wiped off the face of the earth.
Machu Picchu. Yeah.
I think they have appeal, not that I believe in them. The appeal, though, is that if you think about that it took us millions of years to get here. I mean, millions and millions. But over the last million years, we probably kind of looked similar to we do today.
Yeah.
You're walking around like, that looks like Ben, that looks like Andrew. Just strolling around, eating some berries.
Berries?
Hunting, gathering. And it's like, maybe this is just the natural human response, like how sped up things have occurred in the last, say, 2,000 years. We're like, right, 2,000 years ago, we don't really have a lot written from back then. You're like, nothing? You got very little. Like, there's a few books around. Some people wrote some stuff on stones that we can kind of sound out. It seems to have to do with the planets. And you're like, that's it? That's the history of humanity? We got basically nothing. I mean, that we can even like reference point. Like, we got nothing. It's crazy.
Shout out to Blink-182, but like the most interesting ideas, if you want to get real stony, is like maybe they had computers a million years ago and that completely got squashed by an alien xenomorph, and then we had to start over. Or my favorite is like LeBron James being like, "Thank you for a wonderful career." You guys know I'm not from your time, right? Like I've come back from 2050. I'm an average player in the year 3000, but I've come back in time to dominate, and they let me do it. There was a bidding war and I won, so it's been great. Like, I'm waiting for something earth-shattering like that. But to your question, I think life is simpler than we think, and I hope there's something more than this, but it might just be this.
Yeah, it's just still kind of hard to wrap your brain around living in a period of time that is so anomalous with most of the period of time that humans have existed.
Yeah. I mean, talk about going back in time. I have been watching the people who I really found influential in the 90s speak again in the present and in the past. And they were so mad at George H.W. Bush. The Iraqi war was driving people insane. The environment, tree hugging, like people were losing their minds over environmental policy in America. And then I fast forward and see these people getting asked these great questions like, do you still care about the whales like you did? Like deforestation, all this important stuff. And they're like, I'm just trying to be happy, man. Like, a lot of stuff has happened since. Like, I do care about that. I do care about Trump.
The whales one's a weird one though, because saving the whales worked.
They talked about this, right? It's just like, well, George Bush was not president after a while, and then we got a good president. Now we have a bad one. Good, quote unquote, right? And then they're like, and then we realize we hate all presidents, which is my favorite take. It's like, I hate all politicians. Be a winning politician. I don't like what you have to do, but someone has to do it, so I want to pick the best one.
Right. The whales will know specifically as being an example of like, not that you were using it this way of like, naive, woke agenda stuff. It's like, no, they did. They saved the whales. They actually did. It worked. Like people being into saving the whales directed governments to change their policies, and it really did benefit the whale population. And it was like, okay, we can move on largely from the whale saving.
But
I mean, there are a lot of environmental issues here that you could be concerned about.
Totally. Like I was going to say, yes, the whales, but anecdotally, deforestation didn't quite work, right? Like recycling works still. We should do it, but it's complicated. People are cutting down rainforests faster than ever. We have a president now who doesn't believe in wind or solar. It's like, when is that going to happen? The technology's been there for 40 years. We just need better batteries. Elon Musk, what are you doing? Cybertruck, where's your battery?
It's nuts when, sometimes you talk to someone and you realize like nothing gets through, and it's cool just to have an entire government based on that.
It sounds like you wrote the book Abundance.
Yeah, so it's just like, hey, solar panels, they harvest the energy and then they reuse it, and like, yeah, but what do you do at night?
Like, I love it. I love it so much.
Come on. Like, I'm not even here being Mr. Solar Energy guy, but come on. Like, this is from 1982.
This is like, so amazing.
We know about this.
Elon Musk is like, yo, what do we do when the sun burns out? I'm like, that's incredible, dude, because it's so disingenuous that it's insulting on like a human level. It's like, well, when the sun goes out, we'll all die. And he's like, not if I'm in charge. I'm like, in 4 million years, bro? Like, are you from 4 million years ago? What do you know that we don't know?
Clearly not how to preserve the sun.
Yo, what if the wind goes backwards and erases all the energy the windmills generate? Then what?
I just don't know how you would use solar panels at night. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Someone was
There's
like,
no sun.
Explain what a battery is. It's like, end of interview. I'm not doing this. At least Richie.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the ultimate gotcha. All right, explain anything.
Right.
Okay, Andrew, a battery. Okay, better yet, a magnet. Like,
insane.
What is this
posse.
gotcha interview? This is a gotcha interview. I don't know how magnets work.
I remember reviewing that Insane Clown Posse song, Miracles, for the New York Times. And at first I went into it being like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I sat with the lyrics and I got blue pilled. I was like, yo, this is a miracle, because I know about the ionization of things like magnets and how they attract poles. But that's amazing. Like, how the fuck does that? Yo, shout out to magnets. Waterfalls, like, well, I know what that is. It's like, tectonic plates moving and gravity and runoff. But really, fucking waterfalls. Shout out to waterfalls, man.
Shout out to waterfalls, but also no shout out to TLC song Waterfalls.
Why not?
Are
you hating?
That is a hating ass record.
It is. Oh my God. No.
Andrew.
Wait, yeah.
Andrew, I know you think you are built for waterfalls, but let me tell you, you are not. You should stick to the lakes and the rivers that you're used to. Just
still ass water with like murky muck at the bottom.
Yeah, that's kind of your speed. You're kind of a pond lad. You're kind of a pond guy.
I'm a puddle, bro.
Just stay away from the waterfalls, okay?
Why'd you think of TLC though?
And then you won't die. You won't die. The message of that story is, if you chase waterfalls, you die. You either get shot, or you get AIDS, or something else happens to you. I forget, or you die of a drug overdose.
So when basketball players
stick to your squalid little swamp.
What if my jumper gets wet? Do I have to pause that? What if the jumper is extremely wet?
Wet ball. Anyway, I just was listening to TLC song the other day in the car, and I was like, man, this is really negative. There's something about taking you to your final resting place or your shallow grave. I'm like, I'm not trying to be there with Danny Ainge, the classic waterfall chaser.
No Scrubs is a mean ass song, man. That's hurtful.
Mean too.
It's hurtful. What if I'm in?
I mean, I remember back in that era. I was about to say, like, you would never holler from the passenger side again after that song came out.
I'm like, I've been a passenger my
Andrew,
whole life, man.
Say something. I can't. I'm a. I
That
can't
was
holler
the original
out of my best
10-year
friend's
Rayo
ride.
wait. Rayo wait.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Picture yourself.
No, the original 10 years the Rayo wait.
Right, yeah. It's like first I'm on the passenger side. Now I have to wait for this dating app that I'm not even gonna be good at.
Now I'm trying to get a bowl of pasta and meatballs at Rayo's.
Have you ever been to Rayo's? Is that like the Wimbledon? No. It's like, oh, I'm going to eat at Rayo's. I'm like, damn, I didn't know you were that rich.
I don't even know if it's about wealth. I think it's about
the access
dedication.
Is all wealth. It's all access, right? It's like, well, how'd you get a free seat at Rayo's? It's like, well, I play tennis with someone who's had a seat for 2 generations.
Right, but I wonder if Rayo's is more like, yeah, sure, it's money, connections, and all that stuff. I wonder if it's like, all right, I just keep going up there and trying to sit at the bar until they like relent.
There's YouTubers who Rayo's knows. There's YouTubers who be like, third time, it worked, I'm in, from the bar. But the real seats, I'm talking those courtside Johns that you can't even buy with your money. You gotta wait.
Yeah, you gotta wait it out.
We've reached the point in the pod I've been dreading. All pod, all year, all decade, all 2 decades. Buddy, Jeremy Lin has retired. Announced this weekend. Yeah.
First, we find out the big man has cashed out. Danny Ainge.
And then the second big man, Donald Trump, has cashed out. Danny Ainge.
And now,
yeah.
And now we find out there's another death. This one even closer to the family. R.I.P. Jeremy Lin.
Gonna not cry. I told myself I don't want to cry. I don't want you to see me shed tears over something as frivolous as a life-changing basketball player as Jeremy Lin. But I must recall how wonderful the insanity was, man. Not only was it magical on an NBA level, on a New York City level, on an underdog level, touched my heart. As a Taiwanese American player, I was there for 2 of the games. I could not believe I'm actually gonna cry. Like, I could not believe what I was watching. I cannot believe I get to talk about what I was watching. My beloved Knicks with someone who looks nothing like me, who doesn't resemble anything about me, but reminds me of me, doing that for just a couple games at MSG. It was a personality forming experience.
It appears this is the point in the broadcast when I have turned into Richie Torres.
Come on, let's see some Jeremy Lin hate. What do you got?
I guess we just fundamentally disagree. You see it one way, but other people see it another way. Listen, is Jeremy Lin, are you Hamas?
This is the hot mic point. I don't want to accuse you of being the Jeremy Lin guy. Like, that's not your bag. You're not the Jeremy Lin dude. You may be like CIA, but you're not Jeremy Lin Nation.
For those who have never had the joy of watching Andrew Cuo speak in public, there's a certain technique to get him to break that cold shell and to see the real Andrew Cuo. And it involves a couple of glasses of whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
And one name, Jeremy.
So into Pearl Jam, bro. Like, 10 is the perfect record. They call it 10 for a reason. No, it was important to me. The Jeremy Lin entry in The Joy of Basketball could have been the whole damn book. I don't know where to begin in terms of my expectations as a sports fan, my surprise at the turn of events of this Taiwanese player, and like the implications of mathematics, race, underdog, New York. At that point, they had not the Knicks had not entered their Brunson era. It was decades of futility, and Jeremy Lin was thrust into that game against the Nets, I believe, out of necessity. It was a blow, whatever. They needed someone to just eat minutes. Electric. I watched it on my buddy Jason Nacito's couch, and we could not believe, we were laughing. Um, and then we were laughing at the notion of the word Linsanity because I believe it was like trending right away. I'm like, that was fun for a night. We'll never forget that. Oh boy, would I never forget it.
Yeah, I think one element of that, which people in New York City may not have understood, was that MSG had some kind of business differences with the cable system in New York. I don't know, it was MSG, Cablevision, Time
right.
Warner. I don't know exactly
There were
where
blackouts.
the schism was, but you couldn't watch it unless you were in a bar, which led to these games, which were exciting, had this heroic new character who looked and seemed so different from the basketball saviors of the past, but also it was church. You had to go and see it in person with other people. And when I say in person, I don't mean actually in the house of the Lord, MSG, but you had to go to a bar with other people and watch this phenomenon happen as he turned water into wine.
This is another wrinkle. When I say it's endless, right? Not only was it the era of mathematics versus eye test, he was a devout Christian. And when he would talk about it, he would talk about destiny, a higher calling, um, God speaking through his jump shot. And that was so wonderful to have rattle around your brain, my brain, as I'm trying to decipher what was happening before my eyes. Not only was this player achieving quality NBA minutes, he had moments against the Raptors, against Kobe, that were as memorable as Patrick Ewing's missed back rim shot, that finger roll, or Larry Johnson's 4-point play. What's up, mute boy?
I was just trying to hold back the tears. I was a little.
Were you crying? If people are just
Yes.
listening to this, Ben is a mess right now.
I can't believe what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
No, but I think the other vectors at play here are the Knicks were mired in the league's worst 2-decade stretch. I don't mean in history, but at the time, I believe statistically the Knicks had lost more games than any team over that 20-year span, going back to like 1999. And obviously this falls
They
within
call that
window.
Mills sanity. Steve Mills sanity.
And it's not as if there was a Kobe cradling the championship trophy in the locker room on the floor, or there was LeBron chase down block. So the threshold was a little bit lower. But I don't think that means that it wasn't as important. I think it was as important. And I feel like there's a little bit of like mockery towards Linsanity now because he didn't end up having an illustrious career. He was kind of a journeyman. He got hurt. And because the Knicks didn't win anything, these were regular season games. And I'm telling you, you got it wrong. Not you. The people who are saying that this pales in comparison to these moments in NBA history that have larger meaning because of championships and, you know, these narrative arcs. Linsanity was different though. It was a shot in the dark. It was a lightning bolt, but it was a big deal and it was legitimate.
I always joke with you on and off the air that made me a better person. Not only Linsanity, what happened afterwards. We joke about the lonely janitor sweeping the empty halls of MSG, talking about championships past. Walt Frazier walked these floors. You can hear the echoes of Clyde Frazier, ringing through the rafters. Patrick Ewing was once a Knick. And the way Jeremy Lin was dispatched from the Knicks. He wasn't re-signed. He signed the poison pill contract with the Rockets and Daryl Morey, which I would have done, and he knew he ran the risk, and he was ultimately heartbroken the Knicks did not match that very difficult contract to match. And to your point, naysayers would say they made the right decision. He got hurt. He was never quite the same. And I would say they made the wrong decision. But how it made me a better person was that I fucking learned how to enjoy what I had, man. Instead of being like, Jeremy Lin should be a Knick, even though he's hurt. He was the best thing that happened to us in the last 5 years. I'm like, I get it. Business is business. I'm not in this for any other reason to learn something. And I did learn something.
You learned, as Michael Jordan learned, to live in the moment.
Be present, Ben. Be present. But I was also present in misery, right? Like when he wins that Toronto Raptors championship and he's melancholy, he's like, this doesn't belong to me. I've done nothing here. And then that comes after him being attacked for his hairstyle, him feuding with Kenyon Martin about Asian symbols on human bodies, and then being, in his estimation, exiled to China, where he thought the NBA gave up on him. NBA's a tough business, man, and like there is racism, there is poor expectations, there are people who are running teams based off of their biases. He does not see the NBA court for the last few years of his career, but he has a good time in China, and obviously he's like, this is actually where I wanted to be. I don't think so, but I'm glad he made lemons out of lemonade.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go back and you look at his career, let's just look at, per 36 numbers. He was putting up good stats. He was not an amazing player, but for his career, 16 per 36 points, 6 assists. He turned the ball over a decent amount, like 3 turnovers. So he was a good player. He wasn't a great 3-point shooter. He wasn't a great defender. But the idea that he just kind of washed out, I would say he was just injury prone. I mean, the reality is that he was kind of irrelevant in the NBA by the time he turned 30. We didn't really get Jeremy Lin as a healthy pro for his entire career. I don't know. I just feel like that's something that is forgotten about him, is that he did suffer from some injuries, including the one that kept him out all of 2008, the 2017-18 season, where he played one game and was injured.
He ruptured his patella tendon or something
in the opening night. Because that year before, which he was in his prime when he was 28 years old, in Brooklyn under Atkins, he was good. Like he was a legitimately very good player that season. And in my mind, I thought he was. I think he averaged, like 14 and 5 or something in 24 minutes. He was good.
The coolest stat is, I believe, Daryl Morey talks about this a lot. The reason he regretted giving him up, not signing him originally, and then his justification of signing him was, as soon as his hands touch the ball, his team gets a shot up faster than any other individual player in the NBA. And that has to do with pace, decision-making, great stuff. He's like, that's worth the money. He has weaknesses, obviously. But I love this because as you rattled off those true stats, the discussion kind of betrays both parties. Eye testers would be like, he wasn't that fun. He was absolutely that fun. Nerds would be like, he's actually better than you think. It's like, hold on, he's actually not quite as good as you think. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't like a secret gem, even with this pace stat. So I loved how he kind of created a new middle in that brief period of time, because not only did people have to grapple with the way he looked, they had to grapple with the preconceived notions of eye test versus stats.
I really enjoyed the Rockets team with him, James Harden, and Omar Ashik. And that was...
Omar Nation has logged on.
Yep. 2013, because he used this... Daryl Morey used the same poison pill gambit in order to get Omar and Jeremy Lin. What I mean by poison pill, if you were unfamiliar with that phrase, was loading the contract in a certain way where there was
The
a
last
lot
year.
of money owed at the end. And that way you basically screwed the team who was trying to fit that into their salary cap.
And you
And
target certain teams. Right.
and in both cases, Maury was able to pry away those players, and then I believe he traded them both before the contract ballooned. So he basically
Great
was
move.
able to, snatch them away from teams that wanted to keep them, and then get rid of them before like the poison part of the contract kicked in. So
Like
well,
dead
well
Trump
played
and the
on.
National Guard, 29 days, right? You're done after
Although
30.
although I think he did have to give up a first round pick to get rid of Lynn to the Lakers. I think that's true.
Lynn played in a lot of places, and it is worth questioning what makes a successful career. Obviously, we talk about Paul George versus Klay Thompson. Well, those are two very, very successful legacy players. But is Jeremy Lin's career worth it? Like obviously Linsanity. No one can dream of that. But being a journeyman, being hurt, being kind of ineffective and effective in inopportune times, does that make a joyful life? Jeremy seemed miserable. I think he is an ultimately sad person, and I don't mean that as disrespect. I mean that as like a human being. I was privileged enough to be closer to the team in that era, and I was in his vicinity, and I never met him, but like I would not be surprised if he struck me as a melancholy dude.
Yeah, I don't know about his personality outside of how he was as a player, which was not melancholy as a player. He played very hard and
On the
exuberantly.
Knicks. Yeah, yeah. But by the time he gets to Brooklyn, he's like, I don't know what happened. I'm back. I guess I'm not back. Famously cried in China on stage during like a religious event. It was like Cookies Hoops hosting a film screening for Above the Rim, and that's when you're supposed to cry.
When it's time to talk about Bernie Mac, that's similar to a religious event in China where you bare your soul.
I will say that was ridiculous. But as we were talking about the movie, like, so why'd you guys choose this movie? I started naming all the stars of that movie. I'm like, Jesus, they're all dead. And then started thinking about Danny Ainge, and I'm like, this is too sad.
No, I remember you said Donald Trump, Danny Ainge, and then you're like,
Jeremy Lin,
oh,
his career.
Jeremy Lin, Marlon Wayans. I'm like, he's alive. Marlon Wayans is alive.
Well, his career's dead. Ah! Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much left to uncover of Linsanity, but I would say when I hear people speak of it, it brings joy to my heart. And if our job is to keep that stuff alive, yeah, younger Knicks fans who are blessed with Brunson and Cat, man, Linsanity was special too.
I do wish the Knicks made a better effort at including him
Agreed.
in this kind of front row cadre
Twist. He's the janitor.
of legends.
Yeah,
Who are always there now when the team has had more success in an era than they had in 20 years. When Marbury's there and Mello was there, it's like, come on, give Jeremy a seat.
but he's a joke, right? And I want to call back the whole "it changed my life" thing. I realize I'm a joke. Like some people just think I'm a joke, and that's okay. I always tell the story of running out at halftime to get a sandwich at Barraquette, and someone trying to start a racist argument with me. I'm like, I can't go. There's a Knicks game on. I have a good night ahead of me, and you're trying to ruin it. And I want to see Jeremy Lin in Legends half times. I want to see some remembrance of Linsanity in the Garden. I want acknowledgement that this happened because not only is he the janitor, we are all the janitor sweeping an empty MSG.
When they do the next gathering of the Unks, he deserves to be there.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what the Asian phrase for unks. Obviously, auntie is huge in Asia, but you call him Lao Guo, which is like old man. So the next old man gathering, let's go, Jeremy.
On the other side of the spectrum here, the youth movement. Although The irony, of course, we're going to talk about Paige Beckers, is that she's about to turn 24. The women's game is still operating at the time frame of the late 90s NBA or early 2000s in some ways, where they're entering the league at 22, 23 years old.
But they're not lasting till 40 like LeBron. Unless you're one of the LeBrons, and Diana Taurasi had a long career.
Oh, it happens. I was just remarking on the similarity of the age of Jeremy Lin is kind of the same as the age of Paige Beckers when this occurred. Jeremy Lin was so young.
He was really young
when this happened. He was like 23 years old.
We know Obi Toppin entered the league in his 50s. Did David Robinson enter like when he was 23 after the Marines?
I think Robinson was 22, 23.
Because he went back to serve his tour of duty, as they say.
Which is crazy that it was in Navy to begin with. But yeah, that's all David Robinson lore. But anyway, Paige Beckers turning 24, in part because she missed a year due to hurting her knee in college. She's had an amazing rookie season, very similar to Caitlin Clark's in terms of entering the WNBA and being fantastic. But she's insane. She's being received very differently. Why do you think that is?
I love this stuff because of context, because we kind of ran out of vocabulary because we used a lot of words to describe Caitlin Clark. Also, there's this Angel Reese aspect, and a lot of Caitlin Clark talk came from the debate between her and Angel Reese and vice versa. And you enter as Paige Beckers, and it kind of reminds me of like, it's tough to win. It's like, it's tough to be this good and dominate and be like, is there anyone out there my age that can be my rival? Is there someone like Michael Jordan had famously had rivals like Craig Elo, the tertiary jazz players, Clyde Drexler maybe was his biggest foe, Isaiah Thomas,
Byron Russell or Brian Russell, depending on how you want to say his first name. Legendary foe of Michael Jordan.
I didn't want to get caught up in the confusion of his first name, so I just called him Tertiary Russ. But Becker's brand doesn't do her any. Her brand suffers because there's no opposition. There is a lack of enthusiasm for meteoric nuclear new star in the WNBA, because I think the goal of the WNBA is to capture casual fans and lure them in and bring them in and make them lifetime fans. They use a lot of resources on Caitlin Clark in terms of marketing that I think there is the F-bomb fatigue in fandom, where it's like, didn't we just do this with Caitlin Clark? Where is she? It's like, oh, she's kind of hurt a lot. It's like, was Beckers is good? It's like, even better. It's like, I don't understand anything.
I don't know if she's better as a rookie than Caitlin Clark, but comparable. They're
so
comparable.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, she's phenomenal. Caitlin Clark, I think, was more of a James Harden-esque basketball genius with the passing. Also the sort of erratic long-range shooting as a variable, pushing the tempo and pace. Beckers is more of a traditional superstar than that kind of heliocentric model, but also not that far off. So I think they're very comparable seasons. I'm not on board with saying, well, Beckers is just better than Clark. I'm not there yet. I think they're both phenomenal. I think they're both phenomenal.
CC.
But the point, right. But I was saying the point I was going to get to out of that, like that there isn't a clear-cut one. We're going to get that heat next year.
Juju?
Caitlin Clark. Well, no, I'm saying it's going to be Beckers against Caitlin Clark. We just haven't had it yet. It's on the way.
It should be now, though.
But Caitlin Clark she hasn't been playing. That's it. Yeah. It's like, I'm saying we're going to get it. Like, Caitlin Clark Hive has had to sit on its hands all season long after talking their big shit. They vanquished Angel Reese. She's Rookie of the Year. She's going to be the future GOAT. Made her team awesome, or at least, transformed the Fever offense. They were ready to take another victory lap, and she's been hurt. And now there's like a new young star in town who actually is beloved by all. And you see how like the Angel Reese supporters are like, Beckers is the one. It's coming. It's coming. We just haven't gotten it yet.
I mean, I do think it's worth mentioning how progressive this league is. The opposition within the league that Caitlin Clark received. Caitlin Clark famously has a long-term boyfriend. Paige Beckers came out and was like, I'm dating my ex-teammate, and we're psyched and we're happy, and we're both ballers. And I think that is a marketing plus for the WNBA in terms of like inclusivity and getting like families to buy in. But I also do think it activates chuds and morons, and that is something that is a moving target in terms of what effect it has on the marketing of a specific player, team, and league. But is the WNBA ready to market Paige Beckers instead of Caitlin Clark, who is like a quote unquote more traditional kind of superstar? I mean, watching Beckers play in Connecticut, she had swagger, but then watching her WNBA play, it's like she's got even more swagger than I thought.
Yeah, what's cool about her was, we probably mentioned this, but she was the first woman to ever have a male-style high school mixtape.
Cool.
Where it was like, being passed around the group chat, like check this out.
Sizzle.
And it's like,
yeah,
it's just Becker's tearing it up in high school, and yeah, she struck everyone as baby Luca. It's like that's what she's doing. She's the big ball handling guard who gets in the paint, has great vision. Yeah. She can finish,
wiggle,
handle. She's got wiggle, and she's lived up to all of that. And this is why I think that we're going to get the real storm. Because in some ways, Beckers was supposed to be Caitlin Clark. She was going to be the breakout star, but because of her injury and Clark's emergence, it turned Beckers into an underdog. And then now she's kind of coming close to wresting the upper hand back. So I think we're going to get a really delightful rivalry between them. And I'm really obviously hoping Juju can recover from her knee injury the same way. Because when you add her into that mix, and Aaliyah Chavez, there's just a lot of exciting young women's players who are going to be entering the league in the next few years. It may not even be a Paige versus Caitlin conversation. There may be other participants in that, GOAT conversation, or young GOATs, the kids.
The WNBA is in a fortuitous position, but also complicated, right? Because two young players playing against each other, careers line up of that caliber, incredible for marketing, but also two white players. And I find that interesting because it doesn't necessarily reflect that league. Obviously, the WNBA has a player population that is more, I don't know the statistics, but more maybe balanced than the NBA. I think the NBA probably has more black players and Euro players in it. But the WNBA has like many opportunities to market themselves as they're expanding, as they're adding superstars, as the new TV deal is being negotiated. And I don't wish for this problem on myself because this is out of my kind of comprehension, but like, how do they nail this? Like, there's a way to squander this, and they have to not squander it.
Well, one of your two superstars needs to be Asian, as we can tell by Cookies Hoops.
There's already
that's really
one,
the key.
But they messed up because Asia Wilson has been a multiple-time MVP already. Shout out to the real GOAT, though, Asia Wilson.
Very true. But yeah, with Beckers, it's weird. It's because Caitlin Clark's fan base has been so magnified, and
that's what I mean.
So,
yeah,
like politically opposed to what the WNBA stands for, and like, hey, we love this women's athlete, and we hate everything else about your entire organization and everything that it symbolizes. Do you guys want to buy a ticket? I don't know, just for Caitlin Clark games. Like they aren't WNBA fans. Beckers is interesting because and I know someone said that she has like a black stepmother, but she is not really white coded in that way at all, and never has been, despite being like from a white area and being ethnically white. She is a white person, but I believe she has a black step parent and has black step siblings and
Best
has a black
friend was
girlfriend.
Jalen Suggs from The Magic.
Right. She is definitely not presented as white, despite being like the blonde one, which is funny.
Yeah, it's confusing. She is a multitude of things, and I think a profile on her in the New Yorker is upcoming and going to be fascinating, but it doesn't do people who want to reduce the noise when they root for somebody. Like Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese was spoon-fed bait. It generated clicks. It was easy to identify with your own biases, and I believe the WNBA reaped the rewards of that. It was a marketable season, however ugly. So I don't know what to do with Paige except enjoy this balling out.
Yeah, no, enjoy it now, because then when Caitlyn is healthy, you're gonna have a new firestorm. It won't be quite as explosive, but I think we'll have a good rivalry there, though. I think so. It's just, you need to remember, Caitlin Clark has played 13 games, and I think has played like 5 since June. It's so far been a lost season for her. So, yeah, I have no dog in that fight. I think they're both great.
Well, let's see. We'll see, right? Yeah, but so far so good. You know what has been so far and so good as well? Cookies with allergies and on mute.
Yeah, cookies. Cookies is the answer to that.
I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.